Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brendan Hauser with EVOQ Bike. We have a great podcast today with Davide Martinelli, who has an interesting perspective, just finishing his racing career and now being on the DS side and working with the riders and being in the team car. And he has some funny jokes about why it's better to be in the car some days than on the road. But we talk about everything from preparation from races, from being a rider to now being on the staff. And what does it take when they're looking at new riders to sign? Is it just results? Is it power? What are the riders asking him? Because now he has all these 19, 20, 21-year-old athletes looking to him. And it's very interesting. This relates to another podcast. His comments on nutrition, carbs, carbs, carbs. It might not be what you're expecting to hear. So, Davide, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. Everybody, good luck with your training and racing. Check him out on Instagram, and we will talk to you all soon. Okay. So here was going to be my intro and you can rate this. Buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti nel podcast. Oggi abbiamo un ospite davvero speciale.
Perfect. Really, really perfect.
So for the few people that might not know who you are, can you give a quick intro of yourself?
Yeah. That's all. Perfect. Yeah, I can do it.
Let's do it. We're just rolling. We're very informal.
Yeah, I'm a former pro rider. I'm from Italy, like you can imagine. I started with cycling when I was 6, so very, very young. In the last, now I'm 32, so I'm still young, but I decided to stop my career last year because okay, I still love cycling, but it's become to be a bit more stress than enjoy. So there is also a different side of cycling. It's not just fun like amateur or people that just pedal. So I decide, okay, now it's the moment to step out and change a bit. And go in another side. So luckily, I found that directly a new side, but that I love. So for who don't know, my family, my father is now sport director in Astana. So he was sport director of Pantani, of Simoni, and a lot of other riders. Contador. So it's a bit in my DNA. To be sport director.
That's awesome. Can you go in a little bit more on that transition period? When do you think you started thinking, hey, maybe I'm gonna go out before I start disliking cycling? You mentioned you still had the love. And who did you talk to about this? Who did you sort of confide in, thinking, hey, maybe I'm gonna hang it up as a rider and more follow in my dad's footsteps now of going on the director side?
Honestly, in a small period, I think during Paris-Nice last year, so in March, more or less, yeah, I started to think maybe I'm not enjoying too much what I do. So before, when you are really really young, I just think about okay, I want to be a professional rider, and then okay, I want to grow up. But in one moment, I said, I do everything well. I train so much. I don't know, from when I wake up until I go bed, I just try to find something else to improve. But I'm not at the same level that I want. So when I was also young, I mean under 23 juniores, so already international category, I was always able to win. And also as in the first years of my pro career, I was able to fight for result. I also won some races. But when you do everything at your best and you can't reach or do result or even work good for your leader, it starts to be a bit hard. So in one moment I say, okay, I do everything well until July, August, and then if it's not okay, I stop.
Cool. I appreciate your candor there. So I think a lot of people have the question before we kind of dive into it more. What is the role of an associate sports director? What do you do day to day with the team? If you can explain that.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a bit different because when you are a rider, you just think about go fast as possible. So nutrition and training for sure, and everything that is around cycling, but just go fast. The other side, everything is not on the bike, is part of sport director. So about the travel, about especially an under 23 team is all about organizing because okay, we have some people that organize, but is a bit smaller than our tour team. So you need also to speak directly with the riders. Where do you prefer to ride? What's your best plan to come in this place for this race? So it's not only about cycling, but is mostly about organization. So maybe in the morning you wake up, you look a bit training peaks because you want to look at what is in the plan for today, especially you want to know always how they train, if they do everything well. I mean, I'm not the coach, but because of I was in bike until last year, I know everything. So I like also to analyze the training. I spoke with the coach, and that's the part of organization and about cycling and ride the bike. Then it's also a part about organize with the organizer of the race, so speak with them. They call you, please bring the best rider to my race. A lot of things that maybe one guy don't think about, but then somebody has to do it.
Yeah. What's of all those new tasks, what's your favorite part of being on the other side now?
Stay in the car when it's raining.
Ah, I love it. I love it.
The last stage of Valle d'Aosta, an international race last week. The last stage, the start was in a climb, so no, at the top of one climb. So starting downhill, neutralization, so all behind the car of the organization, coming down slowly, so very, very cold, raining. When I was in the car, I was thinking, oh, maybe it's not so bad to stay here.
You're a wise man. Let's talk about that in the car. What's actually going on in the car during the race? We see the videos, of like them talking to people every once in a while, but from your standpoint, and maybe you can actually talk too from being a rider, how do you see things differently now in the car?
Yeah, because when you are on the bike, sometimes you think, oh, why the sport director don't speak so much? Sometimes they speak a lot. It dislike you. So I always think about what the rider want to know now. Maybe nothing. Maybe they want information about the next climb. So you think about what is important to tell to our riders. But sometimes it's just calm. So you don't need to speak. You just need to be ready if somebody call you. And in the rider happens so many things that you don't think about. Just a small thing. When one rider come back from the pit stop, I call like this, when they stop for normal things that everybody do. It's important also to pay attention, because if you stay too away from the car in front, you need to spend energy for come back. So you need to pay attention. But in the same side, there is also maybe somebody call at the radio, so you need to answer. maybe the other sport director call you, so you need also to answer at the phone. Stress.
Yeah. Are people mostly calling back for something that they immediately need or more for planning strategy of things coming up down the road?
What do you mean exactly?
Like, would you more get calls for like, hey, I need a bottle, or hey, I need this wheel change, or hey, something's going on? Or is it like, hey, what do you think's gonna be what's the break doing right now? In the next 30 minutes, what's gonna happen at these, crucial points? Or is it more
Okay.
like foreshadowing, or is it like ASAP, I need help right now?
Okay. It's different. Not every day is the same. I mean,
Yeah.
some easy days like flat stage without stress. Maybe sometimes you play a bit also at the radio because everybody relaxed. You need also to let the time pass for the riders because
Mm.
sometimes or often the rider is just pedaling, but not with stress. Because, okay, most of the people switch on the TV in the last 30, 40 kilometers, and it's normal, everybody go full gas. But most of the time, they are calm. So it's different. Sometimes
Yeah.
they ask just, okay, I need this now. And sometimes you also speak and asking to the riders because we are behind. So what's it going on
Mm.
in the bands? Do you think maybe somebody is going to attack? Especially like with the wind, especially, it's important what the riders say to you. Like when one team start to go in front all together, they look around. It's a bit like playing a card. And but some days, like very, very hard days, is just important to remind to the rider, okay, it's important, eat now, drink now. It's more about planning and then the race coming from the legs.
Mm-hmm. What's Can you walk us through like race preparation a little bit more? How I guess it would maybe differ from a 1 day race versus a long stage race, but how much planning or really talking about the race happens? Are you talking, more the night before?
Mhm.
Is it like a week long before? There's so many races that it probably changes each week, but kind of when I say race preparation, what comes to mind for you?
Ma do you mean like tactics or preparation, like training?
Oh, we could actually do both are really interesting. I think let's do
Okay,
tactics first and maybe more if there's anything, like you've done a bunch of classics. They always talk about like these pinch points that are super important. When do you guys all start to review that and plan for that? And what's the conversation like?
okay. About tactics, it come normally the night before, or I speak with the other sport director maybe the week before. What we gonna do? What is better for our riders? Okay, now we don't have the best rider for stay with maybe the first group, so we need to attack before. So coming along the week direction the race, we speak about tactics between
Okay.
sport director. With the riders, normally we do it the night before. So we speak a little bit for the day after, especially the 1 day race. With the mm, long races like 1 week or like Giro under 23, we speak also in the morning because we want to give more relax and more time to recovery the night before the race. So we speak every morning, maybe just 10 minutes. We speak a bit about the parcours and about tactics, but after 3 4 days the tactics don't count so much, I must say, because you can do what you can do. You can't change so much with the tactics.
Mm,
And then nothing more. It's like this.
cool. Yeah, no, those are good insights. And from the training aspect, you've done Roubaix, Milan San Remo, Ron, like all the biggest races, 1 day races. For your training, did you did anything change because of those races, or was it, I'm coming into spring just knowing you're doing the biggest races? Like, did you have any specific training for each one?
Yeah. Like, in training, you just try to do what you need to be ready for race. I mean, like Paris-Roubaix, you need to be ready to 20 efforts of 3, 4, 5 minutes. Like Milano-San Remo, you need a very, very long ride, easy tempo, and then open full gas at the end of the training. So you try to replicate what you need to be ready in the race. But for sure, when you come to springs, you train in hard effort and short. So that's all. But for sure, you also change a bit your planification because of your condition. So, and then you also need to pay attention, because sometimes you come to Belgium in the first week for Het Nieuwsblad or Kuurne Bruxelles Kuurne, and then you stay 1 month in Belgium, but you only do 2 races every week. That not everybody think about it, but sometimes you normally do 25, 30 hours a week, and then you come in Belgium, you train only 14, 16, but for 1 week it's perfect, tapering, and you fly. But every 2, 3 weeks, you start to coming down with your condition. So you need also to pay attention on it, because if you ride only Wednesday and Sunday, like almost every week, because you in between you do only 2 hours, your condition can come down.
Mm-hmm.
Another
When you
aspect
have the race that you're
attention.
preparing for, 20 efforts, 3 to 5 minutes, do you go out and do that over a 5-6 hour ride, or like do you make it that specific, trying to replicate the training?
Oh, normally they are the efforts like this of 3, 4, 5 minutes you do in a training of 3 hours, 4 hours. Not so
Okay.
long, but also not short, because it's important also to do it sometimes with muscle already fatigued.
Okay. Do you guys use anything like Velo Viewer or any of the new technology to prepare for the races and seeing like the course in more detail than was, possible in 1995, let's say?
For sure. I think it's also a good thing of our team. We are working for young guys, 19, 20 years, but we give them every technology possible. So they are also lucky, because I remember first time I saw Training Peaks, Velo Viewer. It was 2018, 19, and I was already pro since 2, 3 years, and it was incredible, because you can see everything, you can see every corner, every climb, really everything. And I think for an under 23 team have this possibility is something very, very cool. So, and they appreciate it, because when you are young, you always want to see something else, especially the young guys now. They want always something more about details, about wheels, ceramic steel, everything. So I like it. I like technology. I like to play on it. So I like to be part of this project, because they give me the possibility to work a lot of it on it.
Yeah, that's cool. I heard that the UCI was going to experiment with only one radio per team. Have you heard? Is that true coming up?
Yeah, it's true. They want to work on it. I think it's not the right way to. I don't know what is the goal for UCI. I'm honest. I don't know, because they speak about security, and for sure the radio is a part of security, because you can't imagine how many times every race radio tour, so the radio that gives information to the car, say, pay attention on the right side, we have some car parked, or oil on the road at kilometer 64. Okay, I know it. And then if I don't have radio,
Right.
I say to who. So I think it's not the right way. Maybe can be a possibility to give to the rider a different radio that give information. Everybody same information coming from radio tour, but also they speak about, okay, we take off the radio from the car, so it is more spectacular. But I don't think, because sometimes the important part is the tactics. I mean, maybe you can see in TV, because we look at the TV in the car and we can see one rider that is not so great in the face. Mm-hmm. So we decide, okay, guys, at this kilometer we attack. So the tactic is good. If I can't communicate with my riders, we are not important anymore.
I'll be interested to see what happens with that. So besides being able to stay dry when it's raining, how's your perspective on the strategy change now that you're viewing it from the car rather than the saddle? And, you made the comment, sometimes you're talking up to the break, or you guys are behind. How does that little delay, does that change anything in how you think of the race unfolding?
Yeah, for sure. You can always think a bit more, because sometimes you are just in the race, you can't really, okay, I stop and think about the tactics, because it's hard when you are full gas, using the brain, and okay, now I think about what is going to happen. No, in the car it's possible, because maybe normally in the car we are always two sport director, one that drive and one that speak at the radio, and looking the reviewer, looking the TV. So is brainstorming. A lot of times we were thinking, okay, what we do now, because maybe you have, especially in the under 23 races, is different than professional races, because professional races, the breakaway go like 2, 3, 4 minutes, one or two or three teams start to pull, and then there is the final. In under 23 it's different, because maybe 3, 4 breakaway, and it never go at 2, 3 minutes. So it's important, you need to close. Okay, we close directly now, or we wait a bit more. So it's a bit different. And sometimes you need to decide in a few moments, because if you don't pull, okay, the breakaway can go to 4 or 5 minutes, and then the team is not strong anymore to close it. So, yeah, I like when we speak about it, because a few times it happens that your decision can change the race. And when it's the right decision, it's a pleasure.
That's really interesting. Is there ever a time when you're almost wondering, like, and I'm trying to think of a scenario where this might be possible, but I've never really raced with someone in the radio, where maybe you're wondering, hey, do I say something, or do I be quiet and just let the rider race? Or maybe when you were a rider, were there ever times where you're like, just shut up, I need to race right now, and kind of like let the sixth sense of your race brain take over? Does that make sense at all? Like, have you ever had one of those scenarios?
Yeah. Especially when you are a rider, and I'm sure my rider think the same. Sometimes you think, or often, okay, it's just to say from the car, but I'm here in the bike already full gas since 2 hours. So yeah, a lot of times, especially when the breakaway is going away. So, and maybe in the car, now is the moment. A lot of times, now it's important. But I'm also now in the car, and I know that when they are fighting a lot, sometimes I think, okay, now Davide don't speak anymore, because they are already suffering a lot, fighting. So in the both side, it's a bit a crucial moment, especially when the breakaway go away. In the final is a bit different because the race take his own direction. So maybe 2-3 guys already said, I don't feel good. Maybe the leader said, okay, I feel really, really good. So we play on this side.
Yeah.
There are a
So
lot
many
of,
scenarios. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's fascinating to hear it from both sides of that. Kind of thinking of how you interact with the riders and like relationships with them. How do you, you talked before briefly about you went from in your career where you're going for the wins and then at, other races you're supporting the main rider. How do riders and how do you maybe talk to the younger guys about this of balancing if they're more of a domestique, balancing their role at that aspect, but then also pursuing their personal results? It has to be really hard and different personalities take that well. Like how does that, and as a rider is, maturing, they might become more of a winning type rider, but what's that balance like in the conversation?
It's difficult because especially with my team, under 23 team, they are still everybody looking for become professional. So and we are also a very strong team. So everybody in my team can win if they play well. So you need to work on their mentality to maybe play a bit like today, okay, we work for the leader, but your day is gonna arrive. But in my side, I also understand when sometimes they ride a bit, I don't want to say against, but I understand that it's not always easy, especially with 2 or 3 leaders at the same race, because like I said before, we have a very strong team. So you need to give them a bit of also sometimes a different visual, but they are still young to understand it. And especially because now to become pro, it's very, very hard. Just maybe 3-4 under 23 in Italy become pro every year. No more. Like in the past, it was a bit different because 20-30 guys, they were able to become pro. So I will say difficult, but anyway, they are paid, so they are really professional. In this year, I can't say one moment that I saw one rider say, okay, I do what I want. They are really, really professional, I must say.
That's awesome. What ways do you think that your recent transition from rider now to the staff helps you connect and maybe motivate the current riders? Because you were just there where they're trying to go to. What kind of questions are they trying to learn from you? I'm sure they're trying to pick your brain, like, Davide, tell me about this, this, and this. Like, what are they most
Yeah,
hungry to learn?
a bit everything. They always speak about watts. Show me the best watts, or the wattage during the classics. And sometimes I go with them in bike. Like we did young caster, a small Bredenek Oxide in Belgium, is under 23 race that do the same course. And we were together on the bike and I like it. But they want to know everything, really. And they ask a lot about Evenepoel because I rode with him 3 years. So they want to know tactics, how he's standing with Van der Poel in the same group or together. They ask a lot about Milano Sanremo because 300 kilometers for them is something crazy. And I did 5 times, so they want to know how is the feelings after 280 kilometers. And I say crazy because you in Milano Sanremo it's crazy because you feel good, 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 and in one moment, when you want to open and go full gas, you can't.
Mm.
It's just a crazy days, and for me, this is very, very cool because you can't predict nothing because maybe you feel super good and in one moment you drop.
Mm. What's when they're asking you watts, watts, watts? Are there any other things that you're like, hey guys, it's also about this stuff too?
Yeah. A lot of times I say, hey guys, it's not just watts because sometimes I say, okay, so your teammate maybe it look less stronger, but in the end he won. Where are your watts? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like this, you understand.
Mm.
So I try also to say this, but in this generation, I must say that sometimes they are more happy when the performance is cool and the result not, that the opposite. But in the end, who win become pro. Who has battage, okay. Sometimes one is took from Zwift Academy, but in the end, if you win 10 races, they don't need another test. If you do good Tour de l'Avenir or European Championship, World Championship, you are there. Okay, maybe your numbers is not crazy, but believe in me, you will become pro.
Mm. So that's fascinating. That was actually going to be one of my questions of when you're looking to sign new riders, is it results? Is that the major factor, or how does everything rank there of what you look at?
50-50, I must say now. We are looking for a new guys for next year, and you just ask one thing, okay, Training Peaks account, you look at it, but in the end, I think it's 50-50 because he did result, he's a climber, we saw some numbers, honestly, not crazy, but in the end, it was there in a lot of hard races, so why not?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Are
And
there and yeah.
and they are 19, 20 years old, so they can improve a lot year by year.
So that's another interesting question of someone's 24, 25. This day and age, are they sort of like a little too old?
No, I think not. I think that now the the prediction for the future is that also the development team disappear. Crazy things to say, but I think the future is juniores team, development team, and not under 23 because the young guys become directly professional and
Wow.
don't stay in under 23, but they take the best juniors. I don't agree. I mean, I think that one guy can be at his peak of maturation at 25, 26, even 27. But now the direction of cycling is this, and for sure, not me, not you can change his
Mm.
direction. I don't
So
agree, but it's like this.
yeah, so tell me more about that. So did I hear that correctly? You're thinking that the U23, the development teams will go away since so many guys so young are going directly to the
But,
World Tour teams or the Pro Conti teams?
yeah, I
Okay.
don't want to say next year, but in a few years, I think
Wow.
this is the direction. Because like I was under 23, I did 4 years, and it was okay, 21 years old. Now it's ready to become pro. Now, after 2 years, you look old. We have one very strong guy, uh, 20, 21 year old, and maybe he become pro in the World Tour, but he is at the limit, third year under 23, so at the limit,
Hmm.
crazy.
Wow. That's interesting. Do you think is there anything from your racing days that are very close to us in history that you find particularly valuable now in your new leadership role?
different, difficult question. Mm. I think everything is important because if I look back at when I was under 23, nothing was clear at my eyes. It was just a ride fast as possible, and if you can, you can, or if you can't, you can't. But now when I look back and I speak with my riders, sometimes I say one thing that in my mind it's so clear that I sometimes think what is possible that they didn't know. But then I stop and I say, okay, 10 years when I was under 23, I know or not? No. So, okay, I must explain. Because, you forgot from where you come sometimes, but in the end, they are really, really young.
So young. That's a really good point. Your perspective of being there and wondering, what did I know back then? That's interesting to put yourself back in those shoes. So we kind of you've given a lot of good insights from sort of both sides. What advice with the landscape sort of changing of these riders so young and new technology and everything, what type of advice do you give to young cyclists who come up to you and maybe they're still juniors and say, hey man, what do I need to do to become a pro these days?
The advice that I say to everybody is don't lose time, because like I said before, I don't agree with the timing of growing up and directly pro or not. But when you are juniores, you need to work so hard because you need to reach a very, very good team, and then in 1 or 2 years, your life is decided. It's a shame, but it's like this. So don't lose time, and already 16, 17 years old, you need to be I don't want to say, but it's like this, almost a pro. About nutrition and about preparation, about tactics, and about to be in the right place, for sure in the right team.
So would that mean just race as much as possible, train as much as you can?
Train more than race, because it's important to improve, stay in the bunch and everything. But then when you become pro, it's more important the performance, because they select the best young guys, but when you are a bit stronger, you can do another type of work like Domestique, or you can work for your leader, but you need to build up your body when you are young. And in the past, we didn't think about it, or you are just young, no stress, stay calm. But then a lot of studies also say that to increase your power, the best year to do is 16, 17, 18 years old, and it's too late.
Wow. That's it. Now, so since I started cycling at 26, I feel like I missed that boat a little bit.
Yeah.
What you brought up nutrition. What types of questions do the athletes have, or maybe what do you see little mistakes that they might make that you guys are always telling them, hey, don't forget about this?
Yeah, I think the opposite way, because sometimes they eat too much. Because in the last 2-3 years, everybody start to say much you eat and more you can push, but sometimes they don't train at home, they come to the race and they try to eat 120, 140 grams of carbs, and they don't focus on which type of courses today. I think every day 120 grams of carbs, but no way. Sometimes when it's a flat stage, 120 kilometers, when you eat, 60, 70 grams every hour is more than enough. So they focus too much on eat much as possible, and with others problem, because stomach problem, good, don't train it, because if you don't train at home the good, no way, they don't absorb it. So, but they ask a lot also about nutrition, and sometimes they want to just emulate, but it's not the right way. Everybody work differently, so personalization, like in training, is the key.
That's a really interesting comment about the carbs mentality.
Exactly.
I think there's going to be a change in that. So I'm curious, how do you guys support a rider when things might not be going so well? Somebody's in a slump, and I'm sure every, coaching staff has different ways of doing it maybe, but and maybe when you had a slump, what were things that people did to help you kind of bring you up, say, any encouragement or things like that?
Oh, for sure, when one guy is not coming so good, we try to stand on his side. Sometimes it's more important work of who is not going well, because if one guy is pedaling well and he has a good form, it's just about everything okay. He answer okay, no problem. So, but when one guy has a bad moment, we also use a mental coach. So for some guys, we make an advice to find a person to work with him, and it make a lot of difference. So I must say, and I use it also I use it, okay, it's not the right word, but I worked with one mental coach, and for sure he can change your mindset. And in the end, you only know that you are looking the same things but different eyes, because he don't improve your performance, but just let the stress go away and focus on the good side, and not asking what is gonna don't work. You just think, okay, I did it, I'm ready. You see in a different side same things.
That's really interesting. So do you still use a mental coach now, or were you referring to just when you were racing?
No, when I was racing. Now, no.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. How often do you talk to the coach?
It depends. Like when we were in altitude training camp before Giro under 23, almost every day, because you need to be informed about how this work, or how one guy is coming up and down, or how is the planification. So more. When we are at home, honestly, not so much, because I can see the planning on Training Peaks, and I just look if they worked well. That's all, because like I said before about how to support a rider that is not going good, when everything work well, there is nothing more to say.
Yeah. I think my last question is, how do you think things evolved in cycling over your career, and kind of where do you see things going? Any interesting trends, or maybe things that younger riders are talking about?
Yeah, for sure, the cycling is changed a lot. When I become pro in 2016, there were still some riders like Valverde, Bonen, that, okay, now the breakaway is gone, we stop, and everybody, okay, perfect, no problem. So, but now in the last years, when Pogacar stopped for P, some guys attack. Okay, I don't agree for sure. So maybe I saw the last moment of the old cycling. I mean about respect, about following the strategy and nothing more. Now is more naive. So everybody can do what he want, and honestly, I like less, because if I look back at the first years, the races were just okay. If I have legs, I stay in front. Otherwise, in one moment, 20, 30, 40 to go, when they accelerate, I drop. Also, the classic were like this. Now it's totally different. Maybe Van der Poel at 100 to go is more spectacular from the TV, but in the end, when you are a rider, it's not so good. Because like in the past, you can always finish a very important race also with normal legs. But in the last years, how many times you look at the result on Pro Cycling Stats, because everybody look there. And you see a classic with only 60 riders to the end, to the finish line. That's crazy. I like less. Good to see in TV, not good to ride.
Do you think this is just maybe a trend, or because I and maybe I'm wrong, it feels like now there's GC riders that, you know, back when I was watching the tour when I was younger would be, you know, the GC guy would give the other guy with him the stage wins. Like, okay, you take the stage, I still have the jersey. But now, like you said, it's knife. It's just win, win, win. Do you think this is maybe just a phase of this kind of new generation, or do you think this is where racing's going and staying?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a trend, a moment that pass in a few years. I think for a few years, for sure, like 10, 15, the trend is this one. Maybe, you know, cycling, like everything, is a changing, it's like a wheel. That's all. Quindi, I don't know. I have not an idea, but it look like every year is a bit worse or good. I say, like I said before, if you are on the bike, in the bands, or if you are in the in front of the TV.
Davide, this was awesome. This was really fascinating to hear your perspective on both sides of riding and in the car. Any closing words for any of the listeners? I think you shared a ton of great insights and really appreciate you again taking the time to do this.
Advice, enjoy this cycling because it's really, really spectacular.
Awesome. What's the best way? We'll post your Instagram. Is there any other ways for people to follow along with you? I don't know. Do you still upload rides to Strava, or do you blog or anything else like that?
No, I just use Instagram, Strava. Also, when I were a rider, I don't like too much to post because it's a bit kind of secret. Looks like, but in the end, it's not. But yeah, on Spotify, like I said before, I have my own podcast. But Instagram is my best channel. I upload everything. I do a lot of stories.
Awesome.
I think Instagram is the best way.
Thank you so much, everybody. Check out the podcast, especially if you speak Italian, and hit them up on Instagram. We'll post the link below. Good luck with your training and racing, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.